Item 10C, receive a grant request from the San Bruno Lions Club to complete repairs and improvements at the Portola Performing Arts Center.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, at a recent previous meeting, the City Council accepted a proposal by the San Bruno Lions Club to perform another beneficial community service project by performing certain improvements at the Portola Performing Arts Center. There was no discussion at that time of any request or consideration of the city providing funds to support that effort. There was at that time in the staff report attachment that's in your packet this evening, identifies the estimated cost by the Lions Club of approximately $30,000 for the work effort that they proposed. The Lions, in their preparation for performing this community service project, have done some additional evaluation of both their resources as well as work that might be beneficially performed at the Portola Center. And by letter that was recently received at the city, have requested consideration of two things. One is that the club add to its scope of work replacement of the roof at the center, which is indeed in need of attention and replacement. And secondly, that the city consider a grant as in an unspecified amount to assist the club in defraying its cost for performance of this community service project. Staff is prepared to provide you, if you would like, with a recommendation about a grant amount that you may want to consider, but we are presenting to you the request that has been received at the city for your consideration and your guidance and direction.
Any questions or comments from staff or action? We're asking for a resolution to be introduced. Ken?
I sense...
If I could just clarify, there is no resolution attached. There's, this action would, if it needs to be captured in a resolution, could be confirmed subsequently, but as much as there was no specific concept proposed, we didn't want to make any assumptions in preparing a resolution.
So you're looking for a general agreement by the council to...
We are, and
okay.
as I indicated, staff is also prepared to provide you with a recommendation if that would be useful in terms of the dollar value of a grant, should you wish to consider that request favorably.
Ken?
As a member of the club, I'm privy to some of the investigation of the Portola Performing Arts Building, and at the last the meeting that approved the I guess the authorization for the club to perform the the improvements. My first question was, why isn't the roof included? There's been discussion from the members that there is evidence of dry rot, and of course the roof is in need of replacement. And so there was a lot of concern amongst the members, especially those that are going to be performing the work, that it just doesn't make sense that that's not part of the project, and how it would be done in a timely fashion and in connection with when the club was going to do those the proposed improvements. So we haven't reneged on doing the project. We proposed to include that, and was hoping that that the city could provide a grant of some funds, to offset the additional cost of replacing the roof, which we know for sure will be more than just a roof replacement, but possibly a lot of dry rot and some roof repair, substructure repair.
Anyone else, or consensus by the council? Michael?
Through the chair, I wanted to ask, I think the roof replacement on this building was something that had been identified by staff as a needed repair. Had the Lions not come forward and volunteered to do some of this work, at what point would the city have undertaken this project?
Yeah, that's actually an interesting question. We would, in the normal course of business, probably within the next couple of months, have proceeded with the necessary actions to engage a contractor through the competitive bidding process. There is a logistical issue in as much as the council member has indicated from, I gather, the internal conversations at the Lions Club. It does make some sense to coordinate these work efforts because, yeah, just as you would, consider at your home if you were undertaking a significant renovation, you would not want to put in a variety of new counters and paint and all of that without, and then anticipate tearing off the roof. So it does make some sense that the project would be done as a coordinated whole. My understanding is that the Lions have best availability for their work effort over the summer months, and obviously the facility itself is used for school year programming. And while it may need to be out of service depending on for some period of time, depending on the scope of work and the exact timeline, it is generally our interest to see it back up in service as quickly as possible, consistent with the school year.
Okay. And so there is budget, there is money in the budget for this particular program. Is there any issue with converting general fund dollars that might have been considered for that sort of project into what we would consider a grant to a nonprofit agency?
General fund monies are at the discretion of, the use of general fund monies is a discretionary action by the city council, and you are free to program funds to provide a grant to a community organization for a community benefit project or a program. We haven't been able to do that very often in many, many, many years. But certainly you have the authority to do that, and there are some funds that have previously been programmed for improvements at the center, which could be potentially utilized in a manner that would not have a negative impact on the city's overall financial resources.
Okay, thank you.
Irene?
Thank you. I want to make sure I'm clear on this. The Lions are willing to do all the work they outlined before and put on a new roof with with some help, financial help, and any of the dry rot repairs that need to be done. And they're willing to do it within the timeline that they discussed before?
Well, that's the $60,000 question, and that's why the letter came in. And discussions with staff have occurred after, right after the previous approval, and so now, without the roof, if the roof doesn't happen, then it may not be feasible and may not be logical for the workers the members that are going to do the work. The window is July, really.
Okay, so if we approve a grant and there's no particular sum, but say we approve $10,000, your organization is willing to do $30,000 worth of work with a new roof and all those other things within the July-August timeframe.
Yes.
I think that's a bargain all around.
It was, well, I'm biased, but I think it was a bargain before, but it just didn't make sense, to do the project without a dilapidated roof. Just a little more information, there is going to be some repair that was included in the initial proposal that affects the roof, and so, there's going to, what do we do, patch it? Mm-hmm. And, if the roof project isn't included.
So you just want consensus from the council to bring something back? Is that it? Or-
If it's the council's interest to provide a grant, that's the first question, and then the second question would be the amount. And I would suggest that we just return at the July 8th meeting to capture that in a resolution form, but we would accept your direction. I think that would be satisfactory for the Lions Club
Okay.
tonight to hear your consensus about that.
All right. And I'm all for the grant being delivered to the Lions, and $30,000 sounds reasonable to me. Anyone
No,
else?
30,000 is what they're
Wow.
already offering to do the work, so
The Lions estimated their cost at $30,000 for the previous program of improvements that they had provided. Presumably, additional costs would be incurred to also add the roof.
Okay. Everyone else agree with that in principle?
okay.
Yes,
But
yes.
do you want to, Ken, do you need a firm figure? Like, do you need 15,000, 10,000?
I think staff is more tuned to whether or not they should give a figure now or comfortable giving a figure now, or even if it's, something that is forthcoming for the July 8th meeting.
Yeah, so
Through the chair, can I just recommend, I think we have a consensus from the council about the grant. I would suggest staff go ahead and analyze that and bring back on the 8th. Would that be?
yeah,
Yes.
that's fine. Actually, the director corrected me with some information that the $30,000 that had been discussed by the Lions Club before had indicated that that was not necessarily their cost, but the value of the improvements
Right.
that would be produced. So yes, we would be happy to do that, to return to you with the dollar amount. I would say in the $10,000 to $20,000, $30,000 range is probably a reasonable. We'll look at this more precisely and give you a suggestion about what would be an appropriate amount. I think hopefully that, with the council's consensus that a grant makes sense, hopefully that is sufficient information for this moment for the
Yes, and
Lions
I
Club.
apologize to staff and my colleagues for not having a representative here that's more in tune to what is actually wanted.
Okay, we can get that information. Michael?
No, I think that it's definitely a
Oh,
very
definitely.
generous,
Okay.
generous offer.
It's fine.
Yes.
We'd be happy to work together
what you need.
with the club.
Okay, good.
Okay.